Not too shabby. Good. That win
How y'all doing? Oh, I'm tall enough to see over the microphones. Oh, not funny, Kyle.
Oh, now you're gonna sit down.
You want me to stand?
No, no, you won't be taller than that microphone.
Oh, that's what I need is cutting crap from you.
Hi everyone, I want to introduce Sean Henry. He'll be speaking about the Nashville Players and Bridgestone Arena's business affairs and state as of today. So without further ado, Sean Henry.
Oh, thanks, Danny. Thank you all for coming out and do appreciate it. I really wish we were here talking about the record attendance we were about to set for the SEC or Vandy's amazing run, into Sunday, but obviously we're not. And when you look at sports, we all know what sports can do for a community. When a community's hurting, following natural disaster, poor economic times, civil unrest, whatever it may be, sports bring communities together. Concerts do, live events do, and I think that's important. And we know what we're coming out of just 8 days ago, 9 days ago, whatever it was, with the horrific tornadoes. And to be able to use our games or the SEC to raise money, raise awareness, to bring a little distraction to the community was something I think we're all looking forward to. Well, the coronavirus as a backdrop and growing and growing and growing from an unknown standpoint, you look at what the SEC did and what the NHL just did today, and they both took really hard steps to do what was right. And I say hard steps because you want to play those games. When you're the SEC commissioner, I think you heard Greg Sankey talk about it yesterday or today, the last thing he wanted to do was cancel this. It was hard, it was painful for so many reasons, and not one of those is financial. It's all about the student athletes, it's about the community, it's about what happens outside the building, and he really took great efforts not to cancel. We went from hosting a great event to playing from an empty building to we need to cancel the event now. He was so inclusive with it. I can't think of a better partner in all the years I've been doing what I've been doing than the SEC and Greg Sankey. I mean, he really is an incredible person and partner. And if you have to go through something like this, it's nice to go through it with someone like that in that spirit of partnership. In the backdrop of the SEC making those decisions, we were having those same meetings and conversations with the NHL, conference calls in mass and then in smaller groups. And again, our goal was not to play in front of empty buildings, but just have a very healthy community and play our games. But obviously that was not an alternative. So we're making the switch to play in front of an empty building. So obviously the move that we made and taking a pause in the season. Again, it wasn't easy. It's not fun. It's the last thing you want to talk about, but it's the right thing that's happening right now. Our goal is pretty simple. As much as we love our games, pick the community up, but give everyone a chance to get away from each other to a degree, from our players to our employees, obviously to our fans, and self-isolate to some degree to make sure that when we come out of this pause, and I don't know how long the pause will be, none of us do, but the goal is pretty simple, to get back to what we all love, a normal, healthy community where our team gets a chance to bring people's spirits up, ideally play some regular season games, go into the playoffs and compete for the ultimate prize. But it's not easy, it's not fun. A lot of times the people that are lost, when we talk about canceling a concert, moving a concert, missing the playoffs, a lockout, or a pause, our employees. Our event staff are the people that make us what we are. We're given a lot of accolades for being the very best sports team in all sports, the most fun atmosphere, all those great things. We are because of the people that choose to work here in the evening, whether it's a second job, away from the home job, a retirement job, an after-school job, or your main source of income job. It's something they all rely on. And without events for a period of time, they're all going to be hurting. So what we made the decision to do, at least through the weekend, through the scheduled event of the SEC, any confirmed shifts that people had from a part-time standpoint, we're going to make them whole in those and pay them for those shifts. And then we'll look at the rest of the remaining month going into April for what events will be missed as well and build a plan or a program to try to do the same thing throughout that. They really are the heroes of what we do each and every day. They're the pulse beat of what we are. So we just think it's the right thing to do. We don't have that plan fully baked right now, but we want to make sure that we try to do the right thing for all of them. When you look at what events are still scheduled, we have quite a few of them through mid-April. We're working with every tour, every manager, agent, and the acts themselves of moving those shows. We've already, I think, moved Pearl Jam and Zach Brown Band. The next show that we have scheduled is a week from tomorrow, which gives us some time to continue to work with them and do what's right. We have a show the following week, and then we go into somewhat of a slow pause for us anyway, from an event standpoint. But as long as we're under the conditions we are right now, we're going to work to move any event that we need to give the longest break that we have to have. And ideally, we all want the same thing, the shortest break that we have to have, because it'll mean good things for all of us. We'll have some normalcy in how the infective community is going and how that's growing or shrinking. So, last thing is, I've been accused in the past of only caring about sales. And you're right. I like selling out, I like renewal rates. We just started our renewal period with our season ticket holders and our new sales campaign for next year. We're putting all that on pause right now, which is a very odd thing for me to say out loud. But just driving in this morning, I ran across one of our billboards that was advertising, get in now, first payment for next year's season tickets, don't miss out type of message. We're suspending all of those and converting all of our outward advertising to really 3 different things. The first is, let's continue our tornado relief and work with the community on that. Let's use our own assets. And as you know, with the playoffs, it's always stand with us, eat with us, celebrate with us. So we'll have volunteer with us. There'll be a whole ad campaign on promoting Hands on Nashville, or HON.org. So all of our external advertising will feature, that'll be 1/3. The next one will be Give with Us or Donate with Us. And we'll have our own website of how you can donate for us to contribute to our own fund that will go to the community foundation. And then the last will be a PSA for the city and the state on how to wash their hands, when to wash their hands, and have some fun with our own trademarks, our mascot, and get that word out as well. So for us, while it's not business as usual, by any stretch of the imagination, we think the business that we all should be focusing on is caring for those that are suffering from the tornado still, and making sure that our own event staff comes out of this in the best possible fashion.
Questions?
Sean, all the various leagues have responded in different ways today. The MLS put a 30-day number on their pause. The NCAA just canceled everything through June, essentially. With your talks with the NHL, have they given any sort of rough idea of what they hope is a time frame on this?
Well, I think, to answer the question, what we hope, you can answer that as short as possible. But I think for us, when you look at what's the time frame, I think it's hard to put a time frame on it because you don't know how long it'll have to be. So if we put an arbitrary number on it, 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, till next November, you don't know if you can live to that. So the idea is let's put it on pause, which when you look at that word, at first you think it's an odd word to use, but in reality, it's exactly what it is. We're pausing the season to figure out when we can start it again. And ideally, that's as soon as possible, but it will be as soon as possible that's safe as possible, too.
Sean, to be clear, are there any events?
I want to take Teresa's question
Oh,
first.
sorry.
You gotta listen.
She's always nice to me.
You're gonna have to listen carefully. My voice is not.
Oh,
Sorry.
everyone moves away from you.
Allergies. Has the NHL asked you to see about availability of the arena into July?
Well, a while ago, we're always looking at availability with the NHL opportunities through the first week of June at a minimum, maybe the second week in June. So they know our schedule pretty well into the latest parts of spring. But then we started looking at about what else will we need availability for. When you look at so many other things that are scheduled around the NHL, we started providing different dates, July, August, September, and October, just for an array of different reasons.
To be clear, are there any concerts or any events that scheduled for here that you say have been moved or will be moved? Are they canceled? Are they postponed? Like,
So right now, we have not had a cancellation of a show. We've postponed or relocated 2 different shows, Pearl Jam, Zach Brown Band. Our next scheduled show is a week from tomorrow. It's Jeff Dunham. We're working with his tour, his management, on finding a better date for that show to exist. We have an event called MTV Wild and Out, I think the following week, Billie Eilish the following week as well, working with our promoters, our agents, on the best time for them to play. And that's the goal, is to relocate events, not to cancel events.
Has there been any discussion on whether or not you'd like your players to stay here or travel back home? Because I know a lot of them are not from here.
Yeah, so the goal for our players is get them back from Toronto, first and foremost, and have them stay in our community, have them stay in the market. But while we're doing that, truly have them self-isolate. We want them home And it's a very odd dynamic for us to have them in our community and not get them out, for events, for practice, for training, obviously for games. But the goal is we want them to be here. We want them to make sure they stay healthy, and most importantly, the rest of the community does as well. So the goal is to have them with us.
Sean, are players being paid, or has that been discussed in terms of while this is going on?
The players are getting paid. The players are getting paid, yes. Hard thing to tongue twister, but yes, sir.
I know this isn't something that you think about right now, but the ticket sales, I mean, there was still a regular season. There was still potentially a playoff season that was going to happen. Any numbers that come to mind just in terms of regular season with those tickets, and maybe just the cost of what people are losing, or as a...
Well, I think I understand question B. There's still a handful of regular season games to play at home. There's 6 scheduled right now. I think 13 total games. If those games are lost, that money will be refunded to our season ticket holders, single game buyers, where it may be. For all of our events, if any event is postponed off the date that it's scheduled for, someone has to request the refund if it's postponed, and they'll get it from the original point of purchase. If a game is canceled or an event is canceled, then it's an automatic refund. All of our partners, our season ticket holders, will hear from the reps in the coming days of, hey, this is what we know. And that part of it is the communication, sharing what we know when we know it, because that changes literally by the hour. You look 48 hours ago, how much has changed. So we want to make sure that all of our season ticket holders, our suite holders, our partners are communicated to as best as possible, because if we aren't going to play a game, we want to make sure they get their money back as fast as possible, or reuse it for something else that they'd like to. We are canceling, not postponing, we're canceling our Preds and Threads event and our wine, I always say tournament, but the wine festival. And we'll reach out to all the supporters and buyers of that. Would you like an automatic refund? Do you want to make donation to this fund? Would you like to bank it for future references? So it's really working with every individual. And I think that's what makes our bond with this community so unique.
Is there a fear with you that maybe the NHL season could be done with like college sports has in the spring?
Well, I think there's a fear for all of us that the normalcy that we all enjoy right now, and we're banking on going to the exciting time of the season, literally is in doubt. What can it look like? What will it look like? But I like the approach that we're taking. We really are taking a pause, because you don't know when you can resume normal activities. So when we can, we will. But for me, the fear a week ago was, would we be one of the top 16 teams to compete in the playoffs? We find ourselves there right now. But the focus for us is always fairly egocentric until something like this happens, until you wake up Tuesday morning to what we did with the horrific storms. And then it changes really what our focus is on. Our focus on right now is on the victims of the tornadoes, and then what is our community going through right now, and our community being a larger state.
Sean, do you know yet if you guys can practice during this pause?
So during the pause, we probably won't. The goal, again, is to have the players self-isolate as much as possible, and I think that's a really important thing. But a lot of that information will come out in the coming days. We're working through really uncharted territories. And the last time our league went through this was 100 years ago. So we don't have a lot of practice with this, and that's a good thing. I hope we don't have practice with it ever again. But in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 days, things will continue to evolve and change to make sure that our community, our players, our employees, our fans, everyone's put in the best possible fashion.
Sean, is there going to be testing with the players over the next couple of days with them being on the road as much as they have been lately?
So when it comes to the testing right now, what we're doing is we're taking our lead from the State Board of Health and the CDC, and each community is a little bit different, so it's hard to have a blanket statement across the NHL. And what we're advising our own employees to do, and obviously our players too, self-isolate. If you're showing any symptoms at all, for what is there, reach out to us. We can connect our players to our primary care provider or theirs to arrange for a test if that's necessary. But right now there's no blanket testing because different communities, our own, you don't know where the tests are completely right now, how to get them, and what the availability is. So right now we're isolating. If there are symptoms, then we'll coordinate for that test.
Sean, and we are where we are right now, but your team would have been playing in Toronto if nothing happened, where Rudy Gobert was playing on, I guess, Monday night. How
how much conversation was there within the organization about that before the NHL made their move today to suspend the schedule?
Well, we only found out about Gobert last night, so we didn't have that much opportunity to focus really on that, because at the same time we were having conversations about what's next, both for the SEC and for our schedule and what we were going to do. But it obviously became a concern for a lot of different teams of what locker rooms were used by the Utah Jazz. Toronto happened to be one of them. There have been a few others as well. Who else was in there? And that helped lay the groundwork of, okay, what should we do? What steps should we take? What should be next?
Sean, have you gotten any feedback from the players on this, or have you been able to speak to anyone who's kind of, I guess, taken the temperature of the locker room on this issue?
Yeah, so David Poyle, he made the joke today that we talk a lot anyway, probably 3 or 4 times a day. I think we've been burning up the phone lines wherever he's been the past couple of days. But he's had a few team meetings, he and Coach Hines. To see how the players are feeling, what are their questions, trying to lay out what's next with so much unknown in front of us. And the players are just like all of us. And a lot of times we forget that, but they have the same concerns about their own families, about themselves, about the community, about the game they love too. We all want answers today. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of them, but they're asking the same questions that we all are too. But you guys all know our team pretty well. It's a bunch of very conscientious guys that want to look at what's right for their families, for the community, and themselves.
Sean, were you surprised at how fast this all happened in the last few days?
Well, I think when you go back over the past 48 hours, how much has changed and what's evolved in such a quick manner, I think we're all surprised to some degree of where we are today versus where we were just a few days ago. But I think it's also a really good sign for the two entities I'm really talking about, the SEC and the NHL, how fast a really good organization or good organizations can move and evaluate and change course and be proud of changing course. We thought this was going to be the path we were on. We recognized we needed to change that, so we change it and change it again, and that's where we sit right now. So I don't know if I'm surprised at how much we moved in that window. I'm surprised about how many circumstances have moved around us, but I'm pretty proud to be associated with the NHL.
One more question. If the NHL wanted to stretch the playoffs into late summer, do you think that's feasible? Is there like a date where you say we can't go past this, in effect next season?
I've never been a big guy on hypotheticals because I don't understand them. I can answer that in 15 different ways and be wrong 15 times. But anything's possible, depending on what we choose to do, what we should do. But the real key is first you have to figure out when we should start playing again before you can answer what we should do next. But we all love the game. We love what the game can do for the community. We love what the game can do from an economic impact in and around us. At the same time, you have to look at what the bigger picture is and make sure the game fits within that.